Today we're going to be taking notes on the atmosphere. Please have your TNOTES ready and remember to pause the video, record all the information down in your notebook before starting the video back up to listen to me discuss what our notes are about. What is the atmosphere? The atmosphere is layers of gas that surrounds the Earth or any other object that is out in space. We know this as air, and our atmosphere is about 1,000 kilometers thick. The atoms that make up the atmosphere are in a gaseous form, and these are predominantly 78% of the atmosphere is nitrogen. We also do have oxygen in a larger proportion, as 21% shown here in our pie chart. And this small amount right here of 1% is other elements or compounds. And these are, for example, carbon dioxide. We have hydrogen, helium, neon, krypton, O3, which is known as ozone, and xenon. We also have water vapor, and these cause clouds and precipitation. And we also have greenhouse gases, such as water vapor and CO2, alongside with methane and other molecules and compounds that also aid in global warming. Please draw this picture in your notebook. And what we have here is you are seeing that there are layers of the atmosphere, and we actually named each of these layers. And the first layer is known as the troposphere. The second layer is known as the stratosphere. We have mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. Notice that there are distances, and the width of the troposphere is 7 to 16 kilometers. We have stratosphere being 50 kilometers. Mesosphere goes up to 80 kilometers up from the ground, and we have thermosphere, which is 500 kilometers above the ground, and beyond that we have the exosphere. Notice here that the ozone layer is in the stratosphere, and the ionosphere goes through exosphere, thermosphere, and parts of the mesosphere. There are 5 major layers in the atmosphere. The first layer is called troposphere, and this tropo means to change or changing. And troposphere is the layer that is closest to the Earth. It is 7 to 16 kilometers thick. They contain the most clouds, and most of the weather we experience happens here. As you go higher up in altitude, the temperature cools. Here, in this layer, 50% of the sun's energy passes through, while the other 50% is reflected back. We see planes and birds in this layer, and this is also where 75% of the mass of all of the molecules in the air are located. We also see hot air balloons flying around in this layer of the atmosphere, and Mount Everest is at the top of this layer. This is also where we see clouds. Now, what is weather? Weather is the atmosphere's condition in terms of temperature, cloud cover, wind speed, and direction, humidity, and air pressure. Some examples of weather is when we have storms that include thunder and lightning. We also have rain. Maybe it's really windy, and it could also be sunny. So these are some examples of weather. We see a lot of clouds. Most of the clouds are seen in the troposphere, and it does depend on where in the troposphere you are, where certain clouds are found. If you've ever seen some of these clouds, just know that they do belong in a certain area of the atmosphere. Let's see, here we have nimbostratus. This is going to be like where all of our storms are. However, there are other clouds such as cirrus, which looks very wispy and very light and delicate, and these are found higher up in altitude. So these are just some examples of some clouds, and this is where we get most of our weather. The second layer, called the stratosphere, is located 10 to 50 kilometers away from the Earth, and this is 6 to 30 miles if you wish to convert to miles. This layer contains what we call the ozone layer, and the ozone layer is made of something called ozone, and that is made out of the element O3. And we love ozone because this absorbs the sun's UV rays, and UV just stands for ultraviolet rays. It is very important to make sure that we protect the ozone layer because it helps to protect us from getting skin cancer. As we go further up in altitude, the temperature increases. In this place, there's almost no clouds. And this is where we send out weather balloons. And weather balloons go in this area in order to tell us how the atmosphere is behaving to help us to predict how the weather will be where we are on Earth. There are also sometimes some planes that fly in the lower level of this layer. The ozone layer is inside the stratosphere. And remember that it is located in the lower part of the stratosphere. This blocks ultraviolet rays. The mesosphere is the third major layer, and meso stands for middle. This is found from 50 to 85 kilometers above the Earth, which is about 30 to 50 miles above the Earth. This is the coldest layer of all of our layers, and it gets colder as you go up in the layer. This is where we see meteors burn up, and we see this as shooting stars, but it's actually big, huge galactical rocks that fly through the sky and then burn up in our atmosphere. This is where it would happen. This is where we would see shooting stars. Thermosphere is the fourth layer that is located 80 to 500 kilometers above the Earth. Thermo stands for heat, and you've probably even heard thermometer before, which is a device that we use in order to take the temperature of our body. Thermo means that there's a lot of heat happening inside this layer. So the temperatures can range anywhere from 500 degrees Celsius to 2,000 degrees Celsius. This is pretty hot. It blocks X-rays and gamma rays from the sun, which is electromagnetic radiation from the sun, which can be very harmful to us. There is another layer called the ionosphere. And the ionosphere goes from the mesosphere through the exosphere. And there is also something that we've seen that happens here called the Aurora Borealis, or also known as the northern or southern lights. Let me show you a picture. So Aurora Borealis is these beautiful lights, and this is because light is coming in from the sun and hits the particles in this area, creating these beautiful pictures that you can only see in certain areas of the world. The exosphere is the last layer in the Earth's atmosphere, and it is the highest layer. Exo stands for exit or outer. It is really difficult to differentiate between exosphere and outer space because they are next to each other. And this is where we lose a lot of our atoms from our atmosphere. They escape into space. There are very few atoms here. Most of them are going to be hydrogen and helium. What we do find here is we place our satellites here. They orbit in this distance away from the Earth in order to help us with our communications. And the temperature here, as you increase going further out into outer space, the temperature decreases. So the ionosphere includes these three layers: the mesosphere, the thermosphere, and the exosphere. In this area, we have UV rays breaking apart molecules and atoms of air into ions. And pretty much an ion is just an atom that does not have their electron. And so you have this soup, I guess, the three layers here. The sun is breaking the atoms and the electrons are being removed, and so you have this mixture of electrons and atoms that are missing their electrons. Okay, that's the end of our TNOTES. Please be ready to use this information in class and have a great day.